Welcome back to Autism at Home, brought to you by us at Early Autism Project Malaysia through our non-profit initiative, the Hope Project. My name is Jochebed Isaacs, and it's so nice to see you again. This is our 16th series entitled A Daily Guide, and in our lesson today, we will be talking about children from the age group of between 18 months to 3 years old. In the last lesson, we mentioned that 0 to 3 years old is just so crucial for development. And this is the age when infants become toddlers. An exciting journey for all of us as they start to acquire more skills very rapidly. There's usually a burst of expressive language, and of course, there's some terrible 2s and 3s tantrums. Now, the reason for these tantrums is that toddlers are also discovering independence and may want to explore. And this may result in drawing on the wall, climbing up in places they shouldn't, wanting to eat dessert before dinner. And when your toddler doesn't get what they want and they don't understand how to regulate their emotions, then we see the tantrum. This information is important to take note for us as parents and carers to be able to adjust our expectations and again, set them up to be successful. So let's get started. Remember to refer to the CDC Milestone app and check that your child is meeting or has met their milestones. So let's look at the developmental milestones for this age first. When they're 16 to 20 months old, toddlers can walk alone and may also walk up the steps and even run. You may start to see them eat with a spoon. As part of their social and play development, toddlers can imitate facial expressions and the behaviors of adults like feeding dolls, pushing toys, and the list goes on. By the time they're 18 months old, they may start having temper tantrums, apart from being able to play simple pretend plays, like feeding a doll. Communication and language also have very exciting developments. Your toddler may start to imitate animal and environmental sounds, copy phrases, and have between 10 to 50 words. By 18 months, we will also see some growth in their cognitive development. They're able to know what things are for, like telephones, the hairbrush, a spoon, and they begin scribbling. Additionally, they can learn to follow simple one-step instructions without any assistance. Between the ages of 20 to 24 months, toddlers can stand on tiptoes, kick balls, begin to run, and climb up and down furniture without help. Then they're able to make or copy straight lines. In their social interactions, they can copy others, and they get really excited when they're around other children. In the areas of language and communication, they can understand long and complicated sentences, use around 50 words to communicate, and may even begin using pronouns. They will also know the names of familiar people and body parts. In their cognitive development, toddlers may be able to find things hidden under covers, complete sentences and rhymes in familiar books. They can begin to sort shapes and colors. Between the ages of 2 and 2.5-year-old, toddlers can use as many as 200 words. They can talk about what is happening. They may even put 3 words together and refer to themselves as me or I. Then around 3 years old, our toddlers can start to climb really well. They can run easily, so be prepared to chase them around. They may even pedal a tricycle too. And when they socialize and play with others, they copy their friends and show affection to them without guidance from adults. They're able to take turns in games and show concern to crying friends. In their language developments, they can listen to stories with great enjoyment, take part in a conversation about something that happened. They can tell others about themselves, like their first name, their age, their gender. Cognitively, they can start playing with toys with buttons, levers, and moving parts. They can engage in make-believe play with dolls, animals, and people, and even complete 3 to 4 piece puzzles. Now, isn't that amazing? So much rapid development happening in such a short time. And if your child is showing delays in some of these areas or symptoms of autism, then we would strongly encourage you to start intensive behavioral therapy. Our approach, as you can see from our previous videos, and even in this series, is to emphasize naturalized teaching and learning. But for some children who are not able to learn incidentally, then we need to be really very intentional and much more structured in our teaching. There is an urgency the younger your child is, and let me explain a bit further why. If your child is 3 years old but demonstrating a delay of 2 years old, by the time your child turns 4, the only way to catch up is by improving by 3 years. And to catch up by 3 years in one chronological year is going to be very, very challenging. Your child will need to work multiple times as hard to catch up. Now, if you're a parent or practitioner that is of the opinion that we should let a child develop at their own pace, you're absolutely entitled to your own opinion and preference of choice for your child. However, our role is to still explain thoroughly to parents how this works so they can make the informed decision for their children. Once a developmental gap increases, perhaps beyond 4 or 5 years, it will be very difficult to close as the child is getting older each year as well. At the same time, of course, we need to remember that autism is a spectrum, and there will be some children who have more severe autism symptoms. And therefore, even with the intensive hours, their learning rate may be very gradual, and therefore will still have a developmental gap. Okay, so moving on to the key priorities. Continue to build engagement and motivation. Use motivating items to encourage rapid learning. Enforce positive engagement like eye contact, joint attention, age-appropriate gestures, generally all age-appropriate natural and desired interactions. Then cooperation. This actually becomes very important as we navigate through toddler tantrums. So do go back and watch some of our earlier modules on this. Unit 4, Teaching Cooperation, may also be beneficial to rewatch. Unit 2 on Managing Challenging Behaviors, and Unit 7 on Building Flexibility. And don't forget one of the 3 key ABA strategies, reinforcement. Also, foundational skills of attention and imitation. Typically, developing children are watching and absorbing everything around them, and we may need to help our children focus and copy so that they can learn. You can always go back to Unit 11 and Unit 13. And of course then, trying to intensively build up language skills from functional communication, be it verbal or through a communication device, receptive understanding, as well as language concepts that they will learn as they develop. Play and social skills are also crucial in this age. And of course, daily living skills. As the children in this age group develop, they want to have more independence in doing things. We may start seeing this skill develop well when given the proper opportunities as well as sufficient practice. So that's quite a lot to go over, and we are about to go through the proposed daily guide. But this particular lesson would emphasize more on the structured sessions that are really necessary at this stage for your child's development, especially if there are some delays or autism. So the proposed daily routine. This is what your day could look like for this age group. Perhaps by 7, when they wake up and do their morning routine, this is still the best time to show a lot of affection, smiles, and maybe even tell them how much you've missed them. They can also show more independence in doing some parts of the routines, like putting away dirty clothes, getting their own towel, some parts of the brushing teeth. We model lots of language like good morning, diaper off, label the items they use in their routines. Also, acknowledging their non-verbal requests like pointing and waving will actually help them understand language better. Requesting should also be practiced throughout the routines. Now, similar to the previous video, most children's daily routine would include waking up and their morning routine, but by now having much more awake time, which means more play or free time. Then there's naps, meals, and lastly, shower routines and night routines. We would encourage naturalized teaching throughout your child's daily routine, maximizing opportunities to model language, set up requesting opportunities, natural cooperation and structure, and most importantly, having a fun and meaningful time, which builds engagement, rapport, and motivation. Mornings could look something like this, emphasizing engagement through eye contact, smiles, gentle interactive play through songs and soft tickles. Modeling language by repeating simple words and short phrases, requesting opportunities or more so, phrase completion. And naturalize cooperation and independence, such as cleaning up, throwing a dirty diaper away, and transitioning successful and the list goes on. While meal times could include, again, that cooperation and structure with foreshadowing, using the first then language, and plenty of language opportunities. And of course, food exposure to try, to build a tolerance just in case your child is demonstrating some food rigidities. Then of course, more structured sessions in the morning and in the afternoon. Again, if you are able to access a good quality intensive behavioral treatment program, we would still strongly recommend that. However, if you do not have that access, then please do try to do some of these 20 to 30 minute structured sessions. Now, if your child is learning very well in the incidental naturalized teaching in your daily routine, then great. However, over the years, we have found many children with autism who are not able to learn so well incidentally. Perhaps because they do not yet have the ability to focus, or they may not yet be motivated, or perhaps they are preoccupied with their own interests. Therefore, a structured session will utilize specific motivating items in order to intentionally build those foundational skills. Ideally, from a practitioner's perspective, for a young 18-month-old, it would be recommended if you could do these sessions 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the afternoon, giving you a total of about 3 hours a day. And as your child develops past 2 years, building that up to 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. Now, as a parent, though, this may seem pretty intense and also definitely impossible to do on your own, which is why it would be good to have a team of therapists or even family members who could share the load. Now, let me just explain for a minute why. Assuming a child sleeps for 12 hours a day, this child will have another 12 hours a day awake, possibly about a total of 84 hours a week. And remember earlier I mentioned the developmental gap? Well, to attempt to narrow or close the gap will require a lot more time and effort. To clarify, the sessions for an 18-month-old would look very different to a 3-year-old. At the core, it has to be motivating, reinforcing, age-appropriate, as that is what will build the rapport and the engagement. But essentially, some key tips would be: have a specific time. Have a specific set of priorities and measurables as well. We would usually have the priorities listed out and a rough plan of which one to start with first and then how to transition. Here's a sample of very simple priorities, including the cooperation, foreshadowing, follow through, finish box, first then. Then to have a game plan for the session. For younger children, we will try naturally on the carpet or the floor, essentially following their lead. As they get older, we'll continue to follow their lead, but also to provide structure in specific lessons. So it may start to alternate from a floor time to a table time. Then of course, to have materials and activities prepared beforehand. Having the toys and games within ready reach so it's easier to redirect, as well as the use of visuals. Lastly, the materials you will need for this will be picture and storybooks, baby toys, pre-academic materials like puzzles and work folders, and for the routines, eating utensils like a bib, spoon, fork, cup, plate, bowl, shower items, and of course, an age-appropriate high chair as well.
Pop quiz. John is demonstrating a delay in his development. He is about to turn 3 years old but does not speak to communicate, but his grandparents have assured that their father too spoke later, and so John's parents do not have to worry. John's parents are unnecessarily worried and should just chill out. John's parents have some valid concerns and should double-check the developmental milestones. John's parents should see a developmental pediatrician and insist on a thorough assessment to have an accurate picture on the developmental gap. John's parents could start some ABA therapy already. The answers are actually B, C, and D. We have worked with so many parents who, despite being told numerous times by well-meaning relatives and medical professionals, somehow felt that there was a delay and still went ahead and pursued a proper diagnosis and treatment. And they always expressed how thankful they were that they did that because they were able to give their child the help they needed. John's parents have been encouraged to do about 3 hours of one-to-one intensive therapy a day, 15 hours a week, and build up to 6 hours a day, 30 hours a week after John turns 2.5 years old. But John's parents are concerned about the intensity of the hours for his young age. Which of the following are true? A. 15 to 30 hours a week is necessary, as in comparison to typical children who are learning from their environment all the time, about 84 hours a week, minus the hours they are actually asleep, as they are socially engaged, have joint attention, and are able to focus and process language naturally. Children with developmental delays or autism may be spending more of their daily and weekly hours participating in repetitive behaviors and strengthening that instead. For example, practicing low eye contact, not talking, not focusing. When there's a developmental delay, a child needs to work twice as hard as they may need to catch up on the years of delay, as well as the chronological year, as they are soon to turn another year older as well. Most importantly, the sessions need to be tailored to the child's individual needs and have to be extremely motivating and age appropriate. Well, you probably already know that all those are accurate, as we really hope you will understand the why behind the hours and how important they are, as we only have a small window before the developmental gap becomes too wide and difficult to narrow or close.
Well, now it's your turn. Firstly, write down your daily routine and the key priorities you will be incorporating throughout the day. Are you able to allocate a few 30-minute pockets for structured sessions throughout the day? Next, start to plan for these structured sessions and of course then start to implement them. So that's it, a daily guide on autism at home for babies from 18 months to 3 years old. In the next lesson, we will be focusing on 3 to 5-year-olds. Also, thank you so much for your support. And with the amount of interest that we have received online, we have actually started providing online services and currently work with clients in other states of Malaysia, New Zealand, Philippines, Singapore, and even Switzerland. So do scan the QR code here and get in touch with us for more information. If you haven't already, do check out our free online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has all the corresponding articles and downloadables for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.